Welcome to a special Sunday Sabbath coffee with yours truly, independent artist, athlete, and philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist. We're gonna go rock and roll first and foremost, always and always. Grateful, thankful that my rent's paid. Grateful, thankful that my electricity bill's paid. Grateful, thankful that I got food. Food and coffee. Yours truly auctioning this shirt, the boots. Where the steel toe boots, which we're gonna do a round of. Discussion about the steel toe boots, which finally, I'm gonna retire this week because I took them out of retirement just like Tom Brady over time. Every time we work out, train, exercise, independent fitness captain, encouraging you all one and all to work out, train, and exercise. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and will continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice. We're gonna sip some coffee and we're gonna enjoy some delicious pork on bread, simple, austere, severe lifestyle. Do I live, but I do indulge in those sweets. You know, rock and roll 24/7 for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved in that production and the distribution of food. Yours truly, independent fitness captain, artist, athlete, philosopher, and geopolitical analyst and theorist. Right on this list, have a taste of this coffee. Yours truly, coffee. I was grateful that this Sabbath Sunday I was able to put a little bit of honey. Thank you for that honey donation. And of course, got some milk in it. So it'll be that delicious coffee. Rock and roll. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors. Grateful, thankful again. My rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. And encouraging you all to work out, train, exercise. It has been, is, and will continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice. Yours truly, we're going to discuss my idea for a movie. But first, again, I want to give a shout out to those public workers, of course, who pick up the garbage, the compost, and the recycling. I got three services in my neighborhoods to keep the streets clean. Yours truly. Those are athletes as well. Those who pick up the garbage, the compost, and the recycling, and of course the public works who are, of course, involved in the snow removal operations. So that tomorrow yours truly marches, it goes to my work on the mountain, do some volunteering. Dancing is my favorite sport. Aspie, yes, I'm an Aspie. I might say things, repeat things twice, three times, and even more. Have gestures, pass the cup of coffee from my left to my right hand. That is Asperger's, which I do have. I'm an Aspie, don't mind me. Rock and roll is one of my obsessions, as it is. Geopolitics, as you know, we Aspies got obsessions. Probably that's why over the past 7 years, I lost a lot of friends, made new friends during COVID, the past 4 years of COVID. Survivor of COVID right here. Triple vaccinated, had COVID in February 2020. I was struck by COVID, and in many ways, I say I did die. It was like death, pestilence, and disease, death, pestilence, and disease, death, pestilence, and disease, COVID for me. So I survived. Nothing that I want to go back, just living for today with hope for tomorrow. 24/7 gratitude, open for business, support my dream. The dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is a fundamental call for a public-private partnership, support the dream. The dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom is my dream, support it. Support the dream. The dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, yours truly. Independent artist, athlete, philosopher, encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, drop down, give Dragon some push-ups. And gratitude once again, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid. I paid my rent for the month of February, paid my electricity bill, got food and coffee, go Hydro Quebec, go. Build some more dams, so you know we go rock and roll with a little bit of comedy and humor. But of course, gotta give a shout out to Hydro Quebec because the electricity bill in the past dams in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and the new one opened 3 months ago. All our men, it's thanks to whom am able to do this work as an independent fitness captain, artist, and athlete with clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy from that water coming, that fire. Gotta go hand in hand, like civilization and nature can dance and will dance hand in hand together, support the dream. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. That is my dream, fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership as an independent fitness captain, geopolitical analyst, and theorist who of course supports the implementation of my holy trinity via the fourth dimension love, the DRT, death fusion theory, CIT, citizen integration theory, and that democratic fusion theory. To be integrated via the fourth dimension is that love. Love is action. If we're not about love, I don't want nothing to do about it. Start with consent. Do some rock and roll. Loving for yours truly, Rainbow Dragon, who's not perfect, right? Rock and roll 24/7. We're gonna discuss my idea for a movie, which I'm of course calling the support for my idea for a movie, which was gifted. Of course, got a little gift here. Where it is? Oh, I'm gonna have to turn over to my knees right there. So I got this gift from an anonymous sister friend. If I make a million, gonna give her half. If I make a billion, gonna give her half. A trillion, gonna give her half. I got this gift the other day, right before the Super Bowl. Go party, boy. I was good. I'm a 49. Of course, I've been a 49 and will be a 49. Faithful for the Empire Rebirth without playing the overtime as I go overtime. Every time we got that all the way to the Super Bowl, but we made a great effort. So This inspired me to develop a scene and some scenes and some dialogue for a movie yours truly from the Rainbow Dragon's lair, from my lair to the Rainbow Dragon's lair to the world. World peace starts in with some push-ups and some hugs. Yours truly. So this inspired me to develop, of course, creatively in an oratory, in a communicative mind, by communication and by writing, of course, because I dictate orally, of course, my creativity and my ideas for movies. And this is the movie which I will to see produced and support finances. I got plenty of movies, ideas, dialogues, and of course dancing choreography, because dancing is my favorite sport. Being an Aspie, I got obsessions with fitness and sports 24/7, and of course, dancing is my favorite sport. Although I do love basketball and gridiron, North American football, and of course some gymnastics, and not only gymnastics, but rock and roll 24/7 for the butchers, rock and roll for the bakers, rock and roll for the nurses, rock and roll for the ballet dancers and the truckers and the butchers and the nurses and the construction workers in those steel-toed boots, going on the crane. We salute on those steel-toed boots, building those buildings up in cranes in the steel. We salute going up with that knowledge and that know-how, with that meters and that meter support, building the forgotten goddess temple. Please, that's what I want to build before I go. The forgotten goddess temple is one thing that I do want to construct, build, and of course build the forgotten goddess. Yeah, I say Geodess. I'm a mystic, don't know it all. And the house of the dragon, house of the dragon. For me, I only need a simple, austere 3-room pyramid room to sleep in, sleeping quarters, and of course bathroom with a bathtub. And of course, what I need is of course a kitchen to cook, and a bathroom with a bathtub, a kitchen to cook. And what I need is of course a sleeping quarter, 3 rooms plus the 4th-dimensional gymnasium on the mountain. Let's go for the house of the dragon, pyramid style, 3 rooms, scarlet, yours truly for the rainbow. Quarterback, QB movie idea. Here it goes. So please find us. I'm just gonna give a little bit about it. So please give this copyright reserved. Those truly creating open source, but give some charity support, independent, financially struggling, but rich in kisses. Got trillions of kisses credited from the goddess. Credited from that GODDSS for all my allies and armies. Pledge your legions, blah, 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 blah. Got trillions of kisses with some hugs and some push-ups. Yours truly on the table. I bring philosophy, kisses first and foremost by the trillions of kisses for all my willingly loving allies and armies. Pledge your legions. And kisses, tickles, rock and roll, art with it, and a lot of dancing. Dancing is my favorite sport. QB is what I will to produce, of course, as the movie for the future, inspired by receiving this gift, super cool gift, and this inspired me for the movie. So all the proceedings which I'm going to do for this creative movie, whatever it is, if I develop for the blah blah partnership, is of course going to be half 50-50 going to be given to the one whom I received this beautiful quarterback gift from. So it's QB, and this I wanted to be the poster of the movie, or of course the initial poster of the movie to be this, but with a little rainbow addition, little rainbow colors, and lots of red, shining red and green, and shining green, and of course some gold, and of course rainbow colors in this. That's what I want to be the poster for the movie, or the initial poster for the relief. QB, I wanted to star Dwayne Johnson. Let me know if you come out LGBTQ. We're gonna do a little bit of hugging with Dwayne Johnson, and of course Dwayne Johnson. I want to star as the football coach of a college, and I want to see Denzel Washington, and of course maybe I don't know, maybe Brock Purdy, or somebody who's gonna play in his early 20s to play the quarterback. And I haven't decided yet on the quarterback who's gonna play it. And of course maybe I can even play it, put in a little bit of makeup, making me looking like I'm in the 20s, and of course Denzel Washington to play a role of a lawyer, the role of a lawyer, and Dwayne Johnson to play the quarterback. So quarterback, I want the official story. Of course, the story is to be for a gay or bisexual, gay or bisexual, part of the LGBTQ community. Of course, to be a quarterback who faces discrimination, and of course he breaks record in high school. He's very good, but after graduation he's shown, of course, that he is a homosexual, because there's a controversy that he doesn't have a prom date and what's going on. He's a quarterback, he's very desirable, and of course lots of people love him, and of course he doesn't have a prom and a prom date, gotta cover up. And of course it sees, of course, somebody that discovers that of course he is actually gay or homosexual, so he is facing obstacles to get drafted. But of course he's supposed to be first round draft, first round pick, first round, and first draft pick is supposed to be #1. But due to him being a homosexual, of course in the NFL we only have one player who's in the open, but there's many in the NFL, NHL, and NBA, blah blah blah, MLB, who are of course LGBTQ, rainbow, like yours truly, rainbow dragon, but whatever. Of course it is still a work in progress, like myself. Sometimes I'm a mess, sometimes I'm a mess. I admit it, I'm not perfect, far from it. Got some issues and some vices, rock and roll with it. channel that aggression with push-ups and hugs. The Dragon Army motto is back to the quarterback idea for the movie. Quarterback, starring Denzel Washington. I will to be the Denzel Washington. I will to be the quarterback, and Dwayne Johnson. I will to be Dwayne Johnson to star as the football coach of this young athlete who graduates and he's on to become, of course, a first draft round pick and the first draft quarterback and to make lots of money, financial, and to be part of the NFL. But he faces obstacles because there's a controversy that he finds. So I want a lot of raw emotion, a lot of frustrations, a lot of course, progress and tension between the old school and the new school and whatever have you of the NFLers and the new and the old and the the millennials and the Gen Z and the new generation, the Gen Z, the millennial generation back in the quarterback, and then an intergenerational dialogue with of course a resolution and breaking of the impasses, breaking of the impasses, and Dwayne Johnson fights for this man, with intensity and passion, and he argues with Denzel Washington in court there that they're trying to sue, because he didn't get drafted because of him being whatever part of the LGBTQ community and being a homosexual, or it could be bisexual or homosexual, whatever have it. And there's of course pictures of him kissing another man and stuff like that, and that's controversy online that he's seen making out, and somebody takes a video of him making out in a car or in a public place, whatever, with somebody else is kissing, or the gay pride parade, it could be something like that, the great gay pride parade he's seen there making out, whatever, and that kind of creates a controversy. And for that they do not like they jump in to get drafted, and stuff like that, and of course faces discrimination and whatever have you. And Denzel Washington, of course, is could play the coach who's gonna do the round picks, and he's Denzel Washington is struggling with the other coaches and tries to get, of course, him to get drafted. And in the rounds he gets passed in the first round, second round, third round, whatever it is, fourth round, fifth round. And of course it revolves around his struggle. Maybe he gets drafted last, but still gets drafted after Denzel Washington fights tooth and nail for him, for this gay quarterback to be he's the best. He's broken records, and of course I want intense dialogue and some swearing here and there, and of course some yes, he's the best. He's broken records. He's thrown in hail marys like this, and I want in the movie to be seen like footage of him performing and throwing that football like hail marys and touchdowns and breaking touchdown records and breaking lots of passes records and yards per game and stuff like that. But in the high school, in his high school years, and then in college years, and then just before he gets drafted, that in controversy arises that he's a homosexual and or bisexual, whatever have you, and because of that being part of the LGBTQ community, he faces hurdles for him to get drafted. Albeit he is very qualified because he's a great quarterback, he's the top, but he is part of the LGBTQ community. So of course I want to be inspired and dedicated to first events, and of course it's inspired by true events in many ways, because just like when 2021, 2022, we had the first one who was in the open, who played in the open, of course, and it's Kal Nassib is one, the only one who ever played as being open LGBTQ over, or a member of the LGBTQ community in the open in the NFL. It's a sport that I love. I love football. I'm a 49er for auctioning this for $1 million, give half to my anonymous sister friend, pay my debt, and of course maybe get started to plan and finance a little bit of this movie, several movies that I want to be done. And of course I rock and roll, and I'm an artist, creative, and philosopher and geopolitical analyst and theorist who's grateful 24/7. February, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and I'm open for business. And I'm an Aspie. I suffered like many Aspies, and I cannot stress enough the importance of regular physical exercises. 6 years ago, I was depressed and suicidal, and then I crossed Canada coast to coast, and that event was so good for my health and propelled me. I conquered depression, conquered being suicidal. Say so many things to see and do here in Canada, coast to coast. I traveled to the west and to the east, and so many children's books to write, so much rock and roll to do, so much to do and to see in small villages and do across Canada. My family here, fellow Canadian family and Quebecer family, we're gonna switch to that French because we're in La Belle Province, and that's a compromise. What I call as a philosopher the great linguistic compromise of the North American collective civilization, for us to have continuing peace and harmony in North America. As North Americans, I always say I am a North American, Canadian Quebecer, and yes, I can be universal and for world affairs and I'm of course a student scholar of civilizations. I'm an Aspies, so civilizational studies is one of my obsessions, along with rock and roll and intensity. When I discuss civilizations or geopolitics, or when I work out, train, exercise, I'm super intense in those matters because those are my obsessions. Fitness, sports, 24/7 dancing is my favorite sport, and of course the study of geopolitics. And I'm a philosopher as well, and 1/7 comedian. I try to get a little bit of comedy. Sometimes matters are serious, but sometimes got to get a little bit of humor in there, and sometimes I laugh at my own self, and sometimes I am still moody, but no longer depressed and suicidal. That's 6 years ago. 6 years, I'm about 3 months ago, 2017, August and September, cross Canada, coast to coast. So that event has taken me out of depression, and I'm advocating a public-private partnership for citizens, of course, to be financed to cross Canada coast to coast. As part of the ongoing initiative called Northern Scorpio initiative, part of a public-private partnership, citizen public-private partnership across Canada. Of course, to be everything that I do fundamentally is a call for a public-private partnership, and I'm putting this movie idea there for everybody that wants to be produced. And I wanted to star Denzel Washington and Dwayne Johnson to be the coach of the football team where this quarterback is playing, and of course Denzel Washington to play like a lawyer, or it could be a football coach, or it could be drafted. And finally Dwayne Johnson convinces Denzel Washington to draft, although late to draft this young quarterback who's great at playing football, great on he's great at that, but he's part of the LGBTQ community, so he faces hurdles to be drafted or no. Dwayne Johnson discusses on the phones, and Denzel Washington, he says, I want to, but my team is on me, and I get the owner of the team, he doesn't want to, don't draft, or whatever. It could be Michael something, Michael, let's say Michael Rainbow, not Michael Rainbow surname, whatever surname, Smith, or Augustine, or August, or Marcus, Caesar, whatever, Caesar, whatever, Caesar Smith or Caesar something, and he's part of the LGBTQ community like myself. He would want to get drafted, so whatever the case may be, and of course XYZ factors in that multiplicity, and to be very intense, very humorous, very loving, but also to show the generational struggles, and of course whatever have you, the hurdle that's faced by LGBTQ players in the NFL. Being a sports of aggression, and myself, I do have aggression myself. I do admit it. But my brothers and sisters, I channel it. I sublimate it. I work out. I train. I exercise. I work out. I train. Exercise. I work out. I train. I exercise. Super important to channel and sublimate. Sublimate and channel. So I harm no other citizen. I work out. I train. I exercise. I do push-ups. and I've been losing 77 pounds, and I got on the fitness journey right when after I crossed Canada coast to coast, which that event marked me coming out of depression. And I mark also 4 years now today, speaking on this live stream on YouTube on Survivor COVID, survive COVID. COVID struck me hard 4 years ago exactly. So since then, I always say I died during COVID. And I don't want to return nothing back to nothing. I just want to live for today with hope for tomorrow. It's a better place here where I live, and I moved and healed and healing every day. And of course, it's a work in progress. Everything that we do, it's a work in progress. And civilization, brothers and sisters, is a privilege. We're gonna thank those farmers, butchers, truckers, nurses, cooks. Always rock and roll for the cooks, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the butchers, for the bakers, for those grocery store clerks and the construction workers who go on those steel toes, to go up and goes on the toes they go to build. They build those. Skyscrapers on the cranes. And being a fan of cranes, it could be a little bit of a humor sometimes. When I do a little bit of a comedy. Rock and roll is a little bit more comedy when I rock and roll than rock and roll per se, in that anonymous 21st century son. But anyways, 21st century, yours truly, right here it is. A snowy day in Montreal, Hawk Island, part of this North America, and this world peace advocate who's not perfect, far from it, once wills to see this movie produced. Quarterback, if you just call QB, quarterback, starring Denzel Washington, and of course, not just Denzel Washington, but of course Dwayne Johnson. I really want Dwayne Johnson to play the role of the not just the teacher, but of course of the coach, initial coach in the college for this quarterback who's of homosexual or who's gay, who's bisexual, or part of the LGBTQ community. And of course, not only that, but of course, I want to see Denzel Washington play the coach. So a dual Dwayne Johnson, the coach, not the coach who's gonna draft, because the coaches of the NFL draft. So you got two coaches at each other, and with the struggles because he's got a lot of pressure not to draft this quarterback from the owner of the team. You know, it has to be fictitious and what have you. But I really want this movie produced. And yours truly, now rock and roll. I'm gonna do a little bit of a meditation today. You know, on the roads now delivering food, the railway conductors, rock and roll for the railway conductors with that freight going east, west, north, south across the collective North American civilization and coast to coast, ocean to ocean. My brothers and sisters in Nova Scotia and of course the Maritimes. Gotta give a shout out, salute to those of course who are using those shovels to get that snow out of the way, clearing the snow operation, removal operations by the public-private partnership, and of course those who pick up the garbage, the compost, the recycling. Tomorrow's gonna be garbage day and recycling here in my city, and of course in my neighborhood. So I gotta be grateful because the public and the private, they gotta work together, and we need a public-private partnership. And you know, those are athletes as well. When I see them picking up the garbage, putting it on those big trucks, they gotta utilize that muscle. So they go hopping up. So those are also to be admired. And of course, say what an athletes. They're athletes. Look at that. They go pop up, put up, load up those compost in those big trucks. And we of course need more trucks. Public-private partnership. Let's go, millionaires finance the North American Infrastructure Renewal Public-Private Partnership Act for the public, of course, because we got to keep the roads clean, and of course we got to recycling and compost and three services which are part of the public sphere, and we gotta work together in the public and the private. Right now I'm in my private quarters on the ground layer, Dragon's lair, and of course I meditate on everything that's going on 24/7, rock and roll for the farmers, butchers, nurses, cooks, those doing the sandwich now, baking, cooking, cleaning workers. I rock and roll. I'm the people's artist and athlete, and rock and roll for the nurses, the butchers, the bakers, of course, those of course electricians, the plumbers, the carpenters, rock and roll for the carpenters, the plumbers, the electricians, and of course on the roads delivering the food now, big rainbow dragon hugs. And those who are of course now, due to the fact that it's snowing here, they gotta go with those machines east, west, north, south, and of course they gotta clean the road so that we drive safer. And my pedestrian, because I drive, I'm gonna have to get the new steel toes now. I got new steel toes because I'm auctioning the old steel toes. Let's see where they are. Let's get ready. I'm gonna show you the steel toes. Steel toes that have, of course, marched in them for many years. I said I didn't these steel toes. I got them around COVID, and of course, when I got them around COVID, I said I marched more than 3 years and a half in them. See, they're already a little bit on the worn out. So more than 3 years and a half, almost maybe 3 years and a half, maybe exactly to maybe a little bit more than 3.5 years, and danced a lot in them and danced in these steel toes. So I'm auctioning them just like many farmers have to wear boots like this. Of course, the armed forces, NATO troops, and Canadian armed forces, because these are, of course, interestingly enough, they're made in USA and Canada. Here it says it kind of wore off, but they were military grade steel toes that were actually said made in Canada and the US. So it's a joint operation, just like everything I do, since yours truly was born twice in the past lives. I believe in reincarnation, and of course was born in the USA post 1776 twice. Both times I've served in the United States Army. Both times I've served in the United States Army post 1776. Was born right there in the United States, right there in the United States, right there in the United States post 1776, where I've served. Those both incarnations, previous past life, as I'm a mystic, universal spiritual teaching student who does not know it all. I do have a lot of questions, but I was born in the USA in the past lives twice. I served in the United States Army post 1776. I served in the United States Army when I was incarnated in the United States of America post 1776. Both times I served in the United States Army. So yours truly support the Dragon Army Public-Private Initiative, which is one of my dream manifesting, of course, under the umbrella, my dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, the North American Democratic Republic, and the Public-Private Partnership. We've got to work together coast to coast. And of course, I'm a universal spiritual teaching student. Who doesn't know at all? I do say the word goddess. Support the Goddess Rebirth Dance Tour. Goddess Rebirth Dance Tour. Goddess Rebirth Dance Tour. The Goddess Rebirth Dance Tour. Right here, steel toe boots. Auctioning. Let's go, Elon Musk. I want to see Elon Musk wearing these, and I'm a centrist. I'm a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist, but anyways, I'm auctioning these steel toe boots, which I marched. I gotta say, I marched a lot of times in the mountain. You see hundreds of videos. That is my new CV presented to the world. Curriculum vitae a new CV during this COVID, and of course, as I am a philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist, an artist, and athlete, of course, who's not perfect, far from it, got some issues and some vices, and of course, these are the steel toes, which have worn for more than 3.5 years. And I've marched more, of course, than all the generals of NATO combined during COVID, than more all the generals of NATO combined, much more in these steel toe boots, more than the generals of NATO combined during the COVID, and of course we'll keep on. I'm gonna have to retire them finally, and I'm probably gonna take them out of retirement again like Tom Brady. But nonetheless, of course, marched a lot in them more than the past 3.5 years, and to the mountain and back around Mount Royal, and you see hundreds of my workout rock and roll videos and marching, dancing, and doing push-ups in them. So they've been worn a lot. So maybe a million, a billion, a trillion. Maybe not a trillion, but a billion. Gonna give half, 50% to my anonymous sister friend, greatest person I know, and the rest to pay my debt and pay my debt, and of course finance the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom and the forgotten goddess house temple. I want to build the forgotten goddess temple. If I want something to construct to build here in Montreal, like a circle, 7 stories, something colorful, rainbow like green, 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 a lot of green and black and gold, and of course to be the forgotten goddess temple, the forgotten goddess GODDSS temple. That's what I want to build. And I have, of course, written the protocols, and of course to celebrate equinoxes, dream interpretations. And speaking of dream interpretations, interpreting dreams. Oh, the priestess of the goddess, that oracle, is not all about 2 + 2 = 4 in the rational world. We got a deeply irrational, emotional. Sometimes we're moved in many ways, different east, west, north, south, different ways we're moved sometimes by the subconscious and the irrational, the aberrant dreams we sometimes have seems like upside down. What was that dream about? It sometimes from the irrational, deep subconscious mind which comes those energies, and we're moved or even triggered, and myself included, or get moody or upset by the words, by some whatever the case may be, which can perhaps trigger memories or whatever subconscious elements we have, or hidden fears, hidden lust, hidden desires that we do have, or aggression, or whatever it is that we have. And of course, I cannot stress enough the importance of regular physical exercise to channel, sublimate the aggression, as well as channeling and sublimating the sexuality as well. The sexual impulse can be channeled and sublimated in creative, artistic ways, or of course to create something for ourselves and for the greater good. I'm not totally for others. I'm not totally selfless. I'm not totally selfish. I try my best to be in the middle, but I do have the lower self. I admit, myself included. I have the lower self, and I'm not totally floating on clouds in the upper self and higher self, but I try sometimes with a foot in the lower self, sometimes with a foot in the higher, split between the two. You know how it goes, depending on the days and XYZ, good days, bad days. Today is all I got. Carpe diem. I died during COVID. Nothing that I want to go back to. Adrian Hanna Dragon rebirthing. Please support the QB initiative for creating the movie Quarterback, which I just discussed. Quarterback, Denzel Washington, drafting coach, and of course the coach of that LGBTQ rainbow quarterback to be Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson, I really want. Dwayne Johnson. So make an offer, blah blah, North America, blah blah, North America, blah blah blah. PayPal if you want to get sent these. Washed or unwashed, I might. If you want to wash them, I'm gonna dip them 3 times in the River St. Lawrence. I'm gonna dip them 3 times in the River St. I can dip them 3 times in the River St. Lawrence, if thou will, whatever the case may be. Rock and roll 24/7. Dream interpretations. You have a dream. Sometimes is what the X was that. You, sometimes me, myself, I have a dream. Sometimes I dream all these aberrant things that don't make sense. They're convoluted, they're all over the place, and they're coin-jointed pieces, and sometimes upside down, or it doesn't make sense logically, because it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't come from logic, it comes from subconscious elements, whatever it is, sexuality, aggression, or even past lives. Can be past lives in dreams, can be past lives interpretation in dream. I'm more of a spiritual side, but of course it can be, of course, desires or hidden desires or fears, which can be our fears, or even hidden lusts which we have, whatever the case may be, which come from that subconscious mind and are part of that dream. part of the dream which we dream, and they're emotional or whatever have you. Or so you wake up, you're, huh, what did I just dream? It was so aberrant, so fantastical, and so irrational. So with irrational components, it's because they come from that irrational component, whether fears or hidden lusts or whatever the case may be, which can, of course, upset us, or we can meditate on the dream and not know the full interpretation thereof, or it can be symbolic, come from deep roots or whatever have you, from the deep roots of our subconscious mind or collective subconscious, if you believe in the collective subconscious, or from experiences we had, or even from what we lived or endured during the past day or days or weeks or months. Or it could be also something more mystic. It can be a hint of a future, hint of the future, to the future, if you believe in a little bit of that more mystical component. But if not, of course, you can take a purely more psychological than spiritual, but I mix the psychological and the spiritual components, psycho spiritual component or psycho mystic component together. I fuse them together. So when I do the dream interpretation, and I don't claim to have all or the correct one 100%, but I try to do the best I can, of course I can, in the occurrence of a dream interpretation, to interpret the dreams by symbolic meaning, and of course by discernment of the different elements. But I don't claim to have higher powers. Or I can try because I'm a universal spiritual teaching student. I do not have all the answers. I have questions, and some things are mysterious, mystery left to mystery, but and unanswered, and I'm better left with some mystery than claiming that I have all the answers, because clearly I have a lot of questions and discernment, and it could be XYZ, sometimes can be a third option rather than just black and white. There's sometimes lots of gray, and I wish to be more, and I will to be more, lots more rainbow, rock and roll for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, coffee time. Geopolitics is one of my obsessions. As an Aspie with amnesia, double A, rah, 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 retrograde amnesia, and of course, being an Aspie, Asperger's, and you see, I repeat things, and I'm also an athlete, an artist, a philosopher, a geopolitical analyst, and theorist, and my main obsessions, as many Aspies, we got obsessions, and yes, like many Aspies, I struggle with employment and friendships and whatever. Matter of fact, I know how people who got laid off the past week and this past 2024 and last year, who got laid off because I had a good employments which I actually love, but temp agencies, small contracts which were not renewable, blah blah. But so I know kind of people's anger, when I felt when I was, of course, myself during COVID. I had work that I actually loved. I actually loved a lot to work with the senior citizens, and I actually loved, of course, to work with the steel, to work in steel, anyways. But I'm open for business 24/7. My new CV marched more than the generals of NATO in steel toes and created more rock and roll songs than many. Not that great. Some, of course, XYZ, you decide, of course, but I'm open for business to write poetry, rock and roll, dance. Dancing is my favorite sport, and I'm a great, super, and excellent geopolitical analyst and theorist. Geopolitics is one of my Aspie obsessions, study of civilizations, and of course sports. Dancing is my favorite sport, and of course I present right here, of course, too, the world. The introduction. This is going to be a brief, small introduction. The geopolitics of food. We all know that the food prices have increasing, and of course we got a budget. But first and foremost, before I do commence, I do want to say I'm grateful, thankful that I will have food for today, for tomorrow, and for the rest of the week. I got apples, I got some bread, I got some, what else? I got some pork right here, a little bit of pork, and I do have leftovers. So I'm grateful, thankful that I have cans. I have like 44 cans in total, different varieties of black beans, white beans, red beans, kidney beans, and about, I counted 44 cans, 44. Could be more, but my account got like 44 cans. So I got some pasta, so I can be good in theory for a few weeks. If I Even if I don't buy anything, I could be in theory for maybe maximum, stretch it out, 40 days, maximum 40 days. But then I would have to stretch it, and I do have noodles. The geopolitics. What is geopolitics? Comes from geopolitics, and of course, comes from the Greek. So it's the study of politics and the relation of different nation states, civilizational entities, or region states, or nation states, or the interaction, political, social, cultural, military interaction between the nation states. Of course, is my presentation or my geopolitical theory and philosophy, which I firmly believe is that North Americans, we Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans, we constitute a collective civilization or North American civilizational complex, or a complex of civilization, meaning that we are an emergent North American. We are new. It's a new emergent and it has emerged since about the end of the Second World War. Since about 1947, the collective North American civilization, or the North American civilizational complex, meaning that it's formed from different integrated levels, and it combines common infrastructure, common defense, coast to coast common, of course, linguistic features, and of course, kind of like when we say Western civilization, you kind of Europe, but Europeans, you can take a look, and of course, you see that they speak many languages. For example, why in North America there are many languages, but of course, the main languages are English, French, and Spanish, and of course, we have many languages, which of course is nice to hear and learn a little bit more in languages that we have in our brothers and sisters, indigenous communities across North America, which we got a LOV, and of course, gotta come together because we're part of North American collective civilization now in the 21st century. We gotta go coast to coast, defense for the prosperity, renewal, regeneration of the North American civilizational complex, and of course, that is my philosophy that North America will constitute a collective civilizational complex made through different integrated dimensional parts, of course, and that's what we constitute a North American civilizational complex. Right here from this office and of course room on this 18th of February, I presented that theory in the past, and of course my thesis as the people's doctor has been and will continue in the coming days, weeks, and months to discuss it. It's of course called the privilege of civilization. The privilege of civilization as a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist, a, pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist, a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist, believing in my trinity of theories: the citizen integration theory, the DRT debt fusion theory, and the democratic fusion theory, which I will continue to discuss in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. And of course, for a public-private partnership, my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, for a public-private partnership, is of course manifesting across the North American civilizational complex, and of course for support of the Dragan Army initiative, a public-private partnership, because everything that I do is fundamentally a call for a public and a private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex, or across North America, and for world peace and beyond. But we constitute a collective civilization. And of course, I will continue to discuss my thesis as the people's doctor, called the privilege of civilization. The privilege of civilization. The privilege of civilization. So back to the civilizational complex, and of course, this is the theory or the politics of geopolitics, food, the geopolitics of food. So I'm going to do a brief introduction. But before I do, I want to say, of course, that one of my obsessions is the study of geopolitics. So geopolitics, I'm obsessed about geopolitics, or the study of geopolitics thereof, and of course the study of geopolitics is one of my obsessions. So back in 2019, I have of course done an overall intense geopolitical analysis in the libraries of Montreal, where I spent many years, and one foot in the streets, one foot in the libraries, one foot in the streets, one foot in the libraries in the past 7, 8 years, and studied, read geopolitics, civilization, tens of thousands of books, and I've studied, of course, geopolitical analysis and theory, the study of geopolitics. The study of geopolitics is my obsessions, and of course, I do constitute, of course, a geopolitical analyst and theorist, an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist who doesn't have all the answers. Is more theory, but my theory is to be put into practice. My theory is to be put into practice, right? The geopolitical analysis. So yours truly, right from this room of St. Temple, I present the geopolitics that I presented and discussed, and will continue to discuss. So back in 2019, yours truly, with all the imperfections, flaws that I have, rock and roll style, always gratitude 24/7, that in 2019 in October have done a intellectual cosmopolitan complex study and analysis of geopolitics, and of course had concluded back then that of course humanity is again set on a course towards an international conflagration, and so made, created, and produced my scenario, which of course my fitness program, officially called the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, 7 words translated as the Dragon Army workout, which is simple, effective, and efficient, requires no equipment whatsoever, and of course of which I've performed more than 372 of that same program, which still continue to do in a shape or form. But it is, you can see watch for yourself, hundreds of my workout program videos, hundreds of my workout program videos, hundreds of me performing. Of course, super intense when I work out because it's one of my obsession, fitness, and I am and have been and will continue to call for the mass financing. I want to hear on the radio more encouragement and more gratitude and more, of course, public hygiene, public hygiene, public hygiene, and people to be encouraged to do some workout training programs, some stretches, some push-ups, get some air, go for a walk. It's always good for you. Some physical fitness, it does us good, and of course, it continue to do me good. When I go to the mountain, the nature and civilization, it gotta be balanced, and of course, my fitness journey always say starts today now. As your fitness journey can start tomorrow, start today now, whatever the case may be, and of course it can start today. And my fitness journey starts today, and yours can of course start today now. So right here for the fitness journey, of course, it is something which we need to encourage, and I am calling the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, to mass finance citizens to work out, to train, and to exercise. To mass finance citizens to work out, to train, and to exercise. Let's mass finance, incentivize. Let's go, my Bill Gates brother, Scorpio, Bill Gates of Microsoft, Microsoft, all institutions and organizations and social media and big tech, and the big athletes, millionaires, billionaires. Let's mass finance across North America. Dragon Army Public-Private Partnership, and I'll work out with you. And of course, I live an austere, simple lifestyle, very physically active, austere, severe, simple lifestyle. I do indulge in that sweets because I love sweets, but nonetheless, love myself some chocolate, some sweets, some candy. I do love that hazelnut, and I do indulge in a little bit of sweets, but nonetheless, I continue my fitness journey. I lost weight and I diminished my sugar intake. I did diminish my sugar intake. I did diminish my sugar intake. Nonetheless, so right here, right now, the geopolitics. And once again, before I do say the geopolitics introduction to my geopolitics of food series, I want to say that I predicted by an analysis this geopolitical situation transpiring at the moment in the world. Of course, there's back in 2019, just before COVID. Now on COVID, I don't know what caused it. I do believe that COVID was transmitted from snakes to human beings. So the transmission was from snakes to human beings. The transmission was from snakes to human beings, and of course from snakes to human beings. And of course, I cannot rule out another possibility because I really don't know. Although my belief that it was COVID-19, which I had 4 years ago, survivor of COVID here, 4 years ago, nothing that I want to go back to. Live for today with hope for tomorrow. When I see people working out, training, exercising, holding hands, y'all give me hope. Support is independent, financially struggling, 10,500 in debt, but paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, and got trillions of kisses, thousands of rock and roll songs with nobody dances like yours truly. Nobody dances like yours truly, Rainbow Dragon, in those steel toes. For the farmers, butchers, nurses, doctors, carpenters, grocery store clerks, all involved. Those in the warehouses, dock workers, train conductors, bus drivers, public workers picking up the garbage, picking up the recycling, picking up the compost, that labor with that muscle, those fixing up the aqueducts, the sewers, public works, of course, making sure that we potholes are fixed, that the underground aqueducts, we got a lot of infrastructure work in this North America right here. Yours truly, the geopolitics of food. And once again, I did predict a many geopolitical situation back in 2019, got proof of work, because I am an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist. And the geopolitics of food, we got this jar of baby dill pickles. Thank you to those who go food donation, and food security starts with the farmers bless. Food security starts with the farmers love. Food security starts with the farmers hug. So I got this is dill pickles. It's baby dills. So it's baby dills. So it's dill pickles, right? But they're small babies, right? So dill pickles. This is product of India. This is product of India. It's found on the market here, right? The product. What is the cost of import and an export? And another geopolitics study could be, of course, tariffs, right? Because it's possible that tariffs are implemented. Tariffs on imports from a country to another country, or tariffs on exports. So somebody can put tariffs, like the trade war that begun, the U.S.-China trade war in 2018 by the Trump, a big trade war, the biggest, I think, trade war in the modern history, right after the more than 44 years of China opening up its economy with the rest of the world, right? And the paradox of China, which I've discussed, that paradoxically many, and well, I'm not going to divulge into a geopolitical analysis of the relations with China at the moment, because I can do that, and you can commission finance geopolitical analysis, an in-depth geopolitical analysis of that will, blah 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 blah, on that from this independent geopolitical analyst and theorist. But of course, the import and export, that can be part of geopolitics. can be part of geopolitics one-on-one, because of course we see the prices of food increasing, and some of them are blamed on the current Russia-Ukraine crisis, right? The Russia-Ukraine crisis, And, I am still hopeful. I'm still hopeful for peaceful resolution of conflicts. I'm still hopeful, but we gotta channel the aggression. We gotta find resolutions and channel the aggression. We still haven't learned it. I have myself aggression, but I will use it just for defense. We're gonna play that D. North Americans are gonna play that D. Gonna play that D, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, huh? So yours truly. Also, you see I got these. These are buckwheat kernels, right? So of course, playing this because there were some tensions recently between Canada and India, which I'm not gonna go into a big discussion, but there was during past days, weeks, and months, there has been some expulsions of the diplomats, Canadian diplomats from India and Indian diplomats from Canada, and there has been some crises, which is kind of ongoing. It hasn't has 100% resolution. The diplomatic Canadian Indo-Canadian diplomatic crisis. I guess it's ongoing. It hasn't had 100% resolution, but it's ongoing. So this can be an effect. The prices putting some tariffs again. It could be part of geopolitics and some tariffs on exports and on imports. It could be kind of an import and export kind of imports and exports, part of world trade. It could be part of course, an ongoing or potential geopolitical implementation of tariffs or part of the geopolitical study in import-export, which is part of it, and of course the expulsions of diplomats is or matters of geopolitics, which in my layer is 24/7 rock roll. And this buckwheat, as you see here, it says product of Ukraine. See there? It says product of Ukraine, product of Ukraine. Now this buckwheat to yours truly was donated, so it was donated to yours truly, which I'm going to use and consume. But nonetheless, my question surrounding this buckwheat was this buckwheat produced? It doesn't say the year of production. It doesn't say the year of production. Was it produced before February 24, 2022? Was it produced before when was Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 24, 2022? Was it produced then? Was it produced then? Or before? Or during? That's two questions. And then how much of it was it imported in Canada? And who imported it? So that's part of geopolitics. And how much was put on the market? Buckwheat. It's of course buckwheat kernels from Ukraine. It's buckwheat kernels from Ukraine. Buckwheat. So of course this is 750 grams. So of course due to the invasion, it could be of course that the prices. Of course, a lot of speculation. But of course, a lot of people say that due to the invasion and of course the geopolitical tensions and escalations, such as now the latest one in the Red Sea, the prices are increasing. My DRT theory, the only solution, the debt refusion theory for the creation of the universal exchange unit, I have no doubt that my theory and its implementation for now by a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilization, my theory, with all the imperfections, the flaws, and the vices that I do have, that the DRT theory, yours truly, Rainbow Dragon's debt refusion theory for the creation of the universal exchange is the only solution that we have now in terms of the public finance with record interest, debt payments, and of course some many, not all, not millionaires, billionaires, but many growing in debt and layoffs. My DRT theory to finance my propositions and protocols, blah 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 blah. And of course, another one, these noodles, shrimp flavor noodles. Again, thank you. I think I bought these. I think I purchased this for 33 cents. Or no, 25 cents. I purchased these, or 28. 25 or 28. Maybe less than, between 25 and 33 cents, let's say. I'm sure not more than 33 cents and not less than 25 cents. So between that, right? So these are shrimp flavored instant noodles, 85 grams, ready to make. You see here, it says product of China. It's on the market. Lots of it is on the market, product of China. But, of course, the question is I bought in Canadian, Canada has now officially imposed that many tariffs on Chinese goods as the US and during the Trump administration. The question is, by how much could it have gone up? Right, if there would be another tension and if there would be a cessation or there would, let's say, a potential geopolitical conflict, another conflict in geopolitics would be, of course, the People's Republic of China invading Taiwan. Taiwan is officially known as the Republic of China, while mainland China is known as the People's Republic of China. So that distinction, Taiwan, Republic of China, and of course the People's Republic of China is mainland China. So this Republic of China usually says China, There it's of course mainland China, right? And it's interesting because I had warmers, hand warmers, and I saw the one that were produced in 2021 during COVID. It says manufactured in China, and the ones that I had from 2023 last year were said made in Taiwan. So I was thinking, was the manufacturing company? Did the company actually switch and move this manufacturing of the same hand warmers from mainland China to Taiwan? So that's another question, of course, in terms of the business that's conducted globally, and now business is conducted as I'm speaking, or tomorrow more business. Wall Street, please give to charity. But nonetheless, this could be, of course, a potential. If there's something, another event horizon, this can go up in price. If there's tariffs, it can go up in price. Or if there's outright hostilities, it can, of course, be the cessation of the import and export businesses as we know them, right? So that is the possibility. Now, thank you again for this donation. This was donated, and interestingly enough, I saw that these were, of course, it says imported in Canada. Imported in Canada by, there's the comparison, and this says that is, of course, it says three languages as product of Israel. A product of Israel. It says product of Israel there, see? It says product of Israel. So this also was a donation, and there were several. I didn't want to be too selfish, so I left some, but somebody had donated them for food security. So I thought, at first I didn't know. I said, now then I was check. I always check, because I like to check the production and made in and the calories, because I'm an Aspies, so sometimes I check made in and import, and I meditate on import and export, and I check the products, the labels, where it's made from, and a little information on the back. So let me see, are these Canadians? Are these Canadians made? I check, I inspect. So I said, no, it's actually product of Israel, produit d'Israël, product of Israel. So you get product of Israel right there. So you got another geopolitical aspect tension at the moment, and of course that can of course further escalate, and we're gonna see if there's a peaceful resolution to the conflicts, not just of course in the Middle East, but in worldwide, as we hope that we learn to channel aggression. But of course sometimes we gotta play that D, we gotta play that D, we gotta play that D, and we have to have a little bit of course security. Gotta be liberty, gotta be secure. That's the thing. Liberty gotta be secure, freedom and prosperity, all these other questions, complex questions of civilization, matters of civilization, so that we move forward for civilization in harmony with nature, civilization in harmony with nature, civilization in harmony with nature, and of course to channel the aggression, myself included. I have aggression, but I channel it, I sublimate it, I channel it, I sublimate it. So nonetheless, the geopolitics of food, as we see, the prices have increased, and of course it is part blamed on different conflicts. The food prices increasing, or furthermore increasing, depending on, of course, has to look at the imports and the exports, and if there's tariffs come from conflict zones, if the import and export, of course, has to be balanced and has to be product by product, geo region by geo region, like those from, of course, India, further because of the past and ongoing Indo-Canadian diplomatic crises, which have started a few months ago, just like June or something like that. And of course the Middle East, and the buckwheat from Ukraine. The buckwheat from Ukraine. I don't know if that one, it doesn't say the year, but I wonder if it was imported before, and then how much, and is still buckwheat still imported at this moment in time from Ukraine with the producers, with the war. So that's what I want, the product of Ukraine. So we got the buckwheat, right? Buckwheat kernels. So how much, or was this prior to February 24th, 2022, imported in Canada, or after or during? So if it was after, of course, it was during the conflict, or if it's still imported now, and if the price has increased, if the price has increased, or to make a deal, there was some arrangement to keep the prices the same, or even, as a word, to reduce the price, right, so that you export more, the population. So those are all questions. So that's the introduction to the geopolitics of food, and now we're gonna do a little bit of a, huh? Huh? Ah, sí. Ahora se trata abajo. 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 ¿No le ve? Bueno, bueno. Ok, espera un momento. Return right back. No, para allá. now we're gonna switch to that French because we're in la belle province. Quick rock and roll. Bienvenue, bienvenue, bienvenue dans la grotte de votre dragon arc-en-ciel. Premièrement, salutations, puis je dois dire ma gratitude. Mon loyer payé, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, Hydro-Québec, Go, bâtissez, construisez d'autres centrales. Et d'autres centrales de plus chaque année, comme j'ai fait une blague avec un travailleur de l'Hydro-Québec, quand je l'ai vu, bien sûr, je commence à chanter dès que je vois les camions de l'Hydro-Québec, et puis je chante toujours pour les fermiers. Dans les champs de patates, pas de patates, c'est les courges que je mets dans ma soupe parce que c'est encore l'hiver. Et donc, salutations, mais bon, pour retourner à ce que je disais, mais quand je viens travailler de l'Hydro-Québec, j'ai fait une petite blague, puis il a commencé à rire, il dit non, on va pas bâtir une centrale à chaque année, là, on fait 7 dans 7 ans. J'ai dit, on va construire, bâtir, moi je veux vous chanter du rock roll, je vous lave les pieds, puis on va bâtir 7 autres centrales. Il dit, 7, le chiffre après 6. Je dis, oui, ben avant 8, on va encore bâtir une centrale. Il dit, ben là, voyons, on va pas bâtir une centrale à chaque année. Anyways, pour les trains, les infirmières, les camionneurs, les boulangers dans les boulangeries, je lève ma verre, j'ai salué aujourd'hui, puis ceux qui ramassent les poubelles, là, les vidanges, puis le compostage, j'ai 3 services dans mon quartier. Salutations, c'est des athlètes. Votre artiste, athlète, qui a l'Asperger's, puis qui est un 7e comédien, puis qui danse le plus en arc-en-ciel, la belle province de Montréal, de la grotte. Je vous envoie là-haut, puis on fait une petite méditation, puis je vais discuter un film que je vais discuter en anglais, bien sûr, que je veux voir réaliser, puis c'était un autre projet de cœur, mais ça soit coproduction, que ça soit. Mais avant ça, je veux dire merci aussi aux travailleurs publics qui vont faire le déneigement, aussi pour enlever la neige, bien sûr, pour chez nous, pour faire que moi, je suis sur le trottoir pour m'en aller chez nous, dans ma deuxième maison, de ma grotte, chez nous ici. De Dragan arc-en-ciel, je m'en vais à l'autre deuxième maison, c'est la montagne à Mont-Royal, puis je chante, puis je danse. Puis bien sûr, je suis ouvert pour les affaires, puis je célèbre 4 ans, 4 ans, 4, le chiffre après 3 avant 5, c'est 4. 4 ans, en 2020, en février, j'étais vraiment malade. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence, la maladie. C'était comme la maladie, la pestilence, la COVID pour moi-même. C'était la mort, la pestilence, la maladie. J'étais vraiment malade. Puis je dis souvent que je suis mort durant la COVID. J'étais en train de renaître. Puis il n'y a rien que je veux retourner en arrière. Je veux pour aujourd'hui, avec l'espoir pour demain. Puis je vous encourage, Québécois et Québécoises, hein? Faire du sport, de l'entraînement physique, puis l'hygiène en public, je suis pas parfait, loin de là, j'ai nettoyé mon bol aussi de toilette aujourd'hui, puis votre philosophe, artiste, athlète, analyste en géopolitique vous chante, je rock roll pour la renaissance avec les bras, les mains dans les airs, pour que ça bouge en rond, et je vends bien sûr ces bottes, des bottes à cap d'acier que j'ai marché plus que 3 ans et demi dans ces bottes, plus que 3 ans et demi dans ces bottes, j'ai marché bien sûr, plus que 3 ans et demi, j'ai acheté durant la COVID, c'était en 2020, je pense, en avril ou bien sûr en mars, que j'ai acheté ces bottes, puis bien sûr, j'ai marché plus que les généraux de l'OTAN. Des armées libres, puis c'est des productions Canada-États-Unis, puis votre artiste, athlète, artiste, philosophe, analyste en géopolitique, je crois bien sûr, moi vous savez que je crois à la réincarnation. Je suis un mystique, un spirituel, un enseignant, et bien sûr, pas juste enseignant, mais je m'enseigne aussi, je m'auto-éduque aussi, enseignant, étudiant en spiritualité. Il y a bien des choses que je ne sais pas, j'ai des questions, mais j'ai été réincarné plusieurs fois. J'étais né direct sur l'île de Montréal, puis dans des vies antérieures. C'est encore chez nous, ici à Montréal, sur l'île de Montréal, la métropole de 2,5 millions. Puis une fois, j'étais né proche de Montréal, en bas, là-bas, proche de Montréal, papa. Puis j'ai aidé Louis C dans une autre vie à pousser des chevaux sur une calèche. Ça, c'est une mémoire, un flash de mémoire que j'ai eu d'une réincarnation. En 1904, j'ai aidé Louis C à pousser des chevaux sur les calèches en février. C'était Puis j'ai fait du bras de fer avec Louis C, puis pendant 7 ans, le chiffre après 6, avant 8, 7 ans, mon bras droit était en grève, comme en grève que les enseignants étaient pour avoir des meilleurs salaires. Sous la table, je chantais du bon rock'n'roll, blablabla. Rien savoir si vous ne me parlez pas d'amour, faites des pompes, s'il vous plaît, dans le dragon. Puis j'ai des châteaux et des bisous et des câlins pour tous ceux qui le veulent, sur les montagnes, on va pouvoir les bouger ensemble, que ça bouge, que ça danse la rivière, puis des soupes, ouais, pour la construction des centrales, puis pour l'hygiène en public, s'il vous plaît. Et encore une fois, je vous prescris des pompes, des marches. Puis s'il vous plaît, si vous allez à la montagne, ne pas laisser vos déchets, puis le recyclage, les mettre dans les vidanges, parce qu'on a les travailleurs publics. Quand on les salue, je les salue, les travailleurs publics. Donc, mon idée de film de cinéma de cœur, en parallèle avec les autres idées pour le cinéma québécois, j'ai des idées pour le cinéma nord-américain, l'Amérique du Nord, parce qu'on fait partie. Puis on a fait le grand compromis de l'Amérique du Nord linguistique, le grand compromis linguistique de l'Amérique du Nord, que j'appelle moi-même le grand compromis linguistique de l'Amérique du Nord. Moi-même, j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique de l'Amérique du Nord, le grand compromis linguistique pour avoir la paix, l'harmonie sociale en Amérique du Nord, parce que Québécois et Québécoises, ensemble avec les Canadiens de côte à côte. Vous êtes ma famille, veux pas, on se marie sur la montagne, la belle province, vous et moi, dragon arc-en-ciel avec leur lune pleine, puis que ça chante, puis ça danse dans l'Assemblée nationale. Je vous entends de merci les fermiers, merci les infirmières, les docteurs, les charpentiers, les électriciens, les charpentiers, bien sûr ceux qui sont maintenant dans les trains, puis les camions, puis qui chargent nos aliments, puis bien sûr les artistes en difficulté financière mais riches. En bisous, j'en ai des milliards de bisous, puis des câlins, puis des châteaux, et puis bon ça, je suis ouvert pour les affaires. Pour le rock'n'roll de chez nous, de la belle province du rock'n'roll, j'en ai complètement d'autres en arc-en-ciel. Je vous invite à la danse, puis bien sûr à soutenir mon idée de cinéma. Le quart arrière, bien sûr, c'est une idée de cinéma que j'ai eue, bien sûr, que j'ai faite par à cause et grâce à un don, un petit cadeau qu'on m'a fait juste avant le Super Bowl, juste avant le Super Bowl, ma soeur anonyme, la meilleure femme que je connais, si je fais un mélange de la moitié, un mélange de la moitié, un mélange de la moitié, j'ai eu ce cadeau, un beau cadeau, puis je veux que ça soit le poster du film, mais un petit peu avec d'arc-en-ciel, un petit peu de couleur là-dessus, un petit peu de couleur là-dessus, la couleur, puis que ça soit un arc-en-ciel, que ce soit un arc-en-ciel, puis avec du rouge, et le quart arrière, puis ça va bien sûr avec Denzel Washington, puis Dwayne Johnson, les rôles des coachs, ceux qui vont faire le repêchage du carrière qui, comme moi-même, fait partie de la communauté LGBTQ, qui est arc-en-ciel, puis qui, à cause de ça, il y a des obstacles pour se faire repêcher par la Ligue nationale de football, puis avoir des beaux salaires, puis avoir des beaux commandites, j'ai pas de commandite en ce moment, pas de soutien, pas de sponsor, mais je suis ouvert pour avec les bras ouverts, avec les champs. Ben, j'ai payé mon loyer, gratitude pour avoir payé mon loyer pour le mois de février, puis avoir payé pas juste mon loyer, mais ma facture d'électricité, puis avoir payé ma facture d'électricité aussi, les deux ensemble, tango, à la danse, la nature de la civilisation. J'ai payé mon loyer, gratitude, la gratitude que j'ai payé mon loyer, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, j'ai du café, puis l'été, puis bien sûr, j'ai du café, puis cette idée de film génial que je mets ouvert, puis s'il vous plaît, commanditez pour le dialogue de film que vous voulez pour les danses, la commandite, puis la chorégraphie, car je danse plus que personne d'autre va Aspies. J'ai l'Asperger, je vais répéter 2-3 fois la même chose, je vais avoir des gestes un peu bizarres comme passer la tasse d'une main à l'autre, puis bien sûr, avec de l'art, puis l'amour, si vous ne parlez pas d'amour, puis l'amour c'est de l'action, si je veux rien savoir, merci, bonjour. Donc, puis oui, moi-même, j'ai nettoyé mon bol ce matin de toilette. Ça va prendre du nettoyage, ça va prendre des muscles et du cerveau. Pas parfait loin de là, mais l'idée de film, c'est le carrière, qui bien sûr, il y a des obstacles, puis à la fin de sa carrière dans l'université, il se fait découvrir qu'il fait partie de la communauté LGBTQ. Donc, il y a des obstacles pour se faire repêcher, le repêchage de la Ligue nationale de football. Puis Denzel Washington, il y a de la misère avec le propriétaire de son équipe parce qu'il veut faire le repêchage, parce que le carrière, il est vraiment bon. Il fait des passes comme à parallèle avec Tom Brady, puis le bon Purdy Brock. Puis bien sûr, il est super bon comme carrière, mais il est bisexuel gay, ou il peut être gay ou bisexuel. Ben, bisexuel ou gay, les deux, là, ça peut être un des deux, gay. Puis il y a une petite vidéo de lui quand il embrasse un autre gars, puis ils se font un peu embrasser, puis ils se câlinent un peu, puis il y a quelqu'un qui prend la vidéo, puis ça avance les médias sociaux, puis là, il est gay, il fait partie de la communauté LGBT, puis tout ce problème-là, parce que bien sûr, le football américain que j'aime moi-même, puis bien sûr, j'adore ce sport, mais la danse, c'est mon sport préféré, j'aime aussi la boxe, mais j'aime le sport, vous savez, j'ai l'Asperger, j'ai des obsessions, puis quand je discute, quand je fais du sport moi-même, vous savez, je suis vraiment intense dans le sport, puis quand je discute la géopolitique, parce que, ben, les Aspergers, les Aspies, nous, on a des obsessions, puis mes obsessions principales, ben, c'est les études, puis l'analyse en tant qu'analyste et théoricien en géopolitique. Je suis un analyste en géopolitique, le sport 24/24, pas juste le sport, mais aussi, bien sûr, les études en civilisation, les études civilisationnelles, puis avec l'hygiène en public, et tout ça. C'est ça l'Asperger's, on est intense. Puis bon, j'ai souffert de l'Asperger's, puis il n'y a pas de médicaments, là, pour l'Asperger, il n'y a pas de médicaments pour l'Asperger's, c'est juste savoir les symptômes. Des fois, je m'approche trop proche du monde, puis bien sûr, je répète des choses, puis j'ai des obsessions, puis tout ça, mais c'est apprendre à gérer les symptômes, comme dans ce cas-là. Bien sûr, je fais des nouveaux amis, je fais beaucoup d'amis durant les 4 dernières années de la COVID, mais j'en ai perdu beaucoup, mais c'est l'Asperger, on perd des amis, puis on perd l'emploi, j'ai eu des emplois que j'ai aimés durant la COVID, mais bon, ça n'a pas été prolongé, tout ça. Je suis en crise financière, mais j'ai des milliards de bisous, des châteaux, et puis l'encouragement physique, 10 500 en dette, mais j'ai payé mon loyer, ma facture d'électricité, fait que j'ai la gratitude 24/24, vous savez, la civilisation c'est un privilège. Puis cette petite idée de cinéma de carrière, je veux vraiment le produire comme d'autres idées de cinéma que j'ai. Puis bien sûr, ça fasse cette idée de cinéma, ça fasse le carrière, puis que soit gay, partie de la communauté LGBTQ, puis tous ces obstacles qu'il lui vit dans sa vie, des obstacles, des empêchements pour avoir la qualité de vie, puis avoir bien sûr pouvoir travailler dans son domaine qu'il aime, parce qu'il aime le sport, bien sûr, il aime le football américain, il l'adore, puis il est vraiment bon en carrière, il est vraiment bon, il casse des records, puis il passe bien sûr des passes excellentes, puis bien sûr, il fait des touchés, puis il est super bon, il est des meilleurs parmi les meilleurs, mais il fait partie de la communauté LGBTQ, puis Denzel Washington, il veut faire le repêchage, mais son propriétaire, puis son équipe autour de lui, il met des obstacles devant lui, puis là, il s'engueule avec Dwayne Johnson, puis Dwayne Johnson est frustré, puis ça passe le premier jour, le deuxième jour, puis il n'est pas encore repêché, il est censé être repêché premier jour, le numéro 1 est censé d'être un, puis là il tombe, tu sais, parce qu'il y a comme 7 jours, 7 rondes de repêchage de la Ligue nationale de football, fait que là il tombe, puis le troisième ronde, puis il est censé être numéro 1, mais à cause de cette vidéo, puis à cause de cette vérité, puis lui, il avoue qu'il fait partie de la communauté LGBTQ, enfin, puis il dit, ouais, à cause qu'il est LGBTQ, il tombe, puis parce que c'est un sport, tu sais, agressif, puis quand même, aujourd'hui, dans la Ligue nationale de football, il y a juste un qui est ouvert, c'est Carl Nassib qui fait partie de la communauté LGBTQ, mais il y en a d'autres aussi dans la Ligue nationale d'hockey. Il y a un aussi où j'aime bien les Canadiens de Montréal, vous savez, j'adore les Canadiens de Montréal, mais c'est sûr, moi je suis sûr, même les statistiques, tu sais, d'après les statistiques, là, d'après les statistiques, c'est sûr qu'il y en a un au moins un qui est LGBTQ, tu sais, il y en a un quand même sûr, tu sais, qui est LGBTQ dans la communauté bien sûr, d'hockey que j'aime bien, puis je fais mon casquette d'hockey fier, bien sûr, puis je la vends 1 million pour donner 50% à moitié à ma soeur en ligne, puis payer mes dettes, puis faire la charité, bien sûr, puis aujourd'hui la gratitude, puis je veux voir ce film réalisé parmi d'autres, puis bien sûr, je veux discuter un peu de la géopolitique, de la nourriture, l'introduction, parce que vous savez, je suis un analyste en géopolitique qui a prévu, avec toutes les imperfections que j'ai, pendant des années, perché des années en bibliothèque, j'ai étudié tellement de choses dans la bibliothèque, avec un pied dans les livres, un pied dans les bibliothèques, puis j'ai fait une analyse, puis bien sûr, j'avais écrit, composé des analyses sur des clés USB, puis parmi j'avais une centaine de pages, pas juste de la poésie, du rock and roll, mais bien sûr aussi des analyses en géopolitique, puis en 2019, j'avais prévu la situation en parallèle, pas exactement comment que ça se passe, mais j'avais prévu en général qu'une conflagration internationale, soit une troisième guerre mondiale, la possibilité d'une troisième guerre mondiale, une conflagration internationale en 2019. Puis après ça, il y a eu la COVID, puis après ça, il y a eu la crise de l'Ukraine en Europe, la guerre, il n'y a pas eu de guerre comme ça depuis 77 ans, là, depuis la deuxième guerre mondiale qui a fini en 1945, avec l'Ukraine, puis la Russie-Ukraine, la guerre Russie-Ukraine, puis au Moyen-Orient, puis un potentiel, bien sûr, en Asie avec la Chine, qui s'appelle officiellement la République populaire de la Chine, avec le Taïwan qui s'appelle la République du Taïwan. Bon, en tant que Québécois, Canadien, Nord-Américain, moi, c'est l'Amérique du Nord, que je connais mon expérience, puis ma vie avec mes propres souffrances, là, puis avoir survécu, j'étais en dépression puis suicidaire, puis en 2017, là, 6 ans et 3 mois à peu près, en août, puis en septembre, j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, puis cet événement dans ma vie, ça m'a fait sortir de la dépression. J'ai vu tellement de choses, voir tellement de choses au Canada, au Québec, des petites villes, Saint-Damien, Saint-Adrien, il y en a deux, des îles de la Madeleine, dans le nord, dans le sud, voir le Bay James, la construction des centrales, puis voir d'autres centrales qui se bâtissent, puis voir la renaissance que je dois vivre, puis je dois écrire des livres d'enfants, puis faire du rock and roll, puis danser, faire l'entraînement physique, puis de la nourriture nouvelle à expérimenter, puis faire des ci, puis ça, puis tellement de choses à faire chez nous, mon pays, le Canada, puis dans ma province, le Québec. J'ai sorti de la dépression, j'ai commencé à m'entraîner, puis j'ai eu de l'emploi, mais moi, bien sûr, XYZ, je suis pas parfait, loin là, Asperger, tu sais, je répète des choses, puis ceux qui savent pas c'est quoi, ben, ils disent, ah, ben, c'est trop bizarre, puis whatever, mais c'est ça l'Asperger, puis je commençais dernièrement, ces dernières années, durant le COVID, à vivre avec, puis à l'accepter, mais j'ai l'Asperger, puis je suis obsédé par certaines choses, puis c'est comme une bénédiction, une malédiction qui a été une bénédiction, c'est comme une malédiction qui a été une bénédiction, c'était comme une malédiction qui a été une bénédiction dans le fond, parce que je suis capable de faire des études profondes, intenses dans les domaines comme la géopolitique, les études de civilisation, puis bien sûr, moi en tant que philosophe, puis je vous ai présenté ma thèse, puis ma théorie, que nous autres les Québécois, Canadiens, Nord-Américains, en Amérique du Nord, on constitue puis on forme ce que j'appelle un collectif de civilisation, soit un complexe de civilisation nord-américaine, un collectif de civilisation nord-américaine, parce qu'on a une civilisation émergente nouvelle qui émerge depuis à peu près la Deuxième Guerre mondiale en Amérique du Nord. Donc nous, on fait partie des Québécois et Québécoises. Puis on a bien sûr fait le grand compromis, qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique de l'Amérique du Nord. C'est la continuité du français pour avoir l'harmonie, puis la paix, puis on va continuer à le faire. Pendant qu'on fait des fois, c'est sûr que on a des tensions, puis c'est pas parfait, puis c'est pas si ça, mais on continue à faire un effort, comme moi-même, faire un effort, comme Céline, je vous chante dans le rock and roll bilingue, puis bien sûr, pour avoir la paix de côte à côte, l'océan Atlantique, Pacifique, Pacifique, Atlantique, parce que c'est un collectif d'associations nord-américains, puis tous ceux qui viennent nous rejoindre, puis on essaie de faire le mieux qu'on peut avec les petites imperfections que moi-même j'en ai moi aussi, mon Asperger, un Aspies, j'ai souffert, puis j'étais en dépression, mais plus maintenant, l'entraînement physique, c'est ma médecine et thérapie de choix. Pour l'Asperger, il n'y a pas de médicaments, c'est les symptômes de l'Asperger, ben, il faut que je m'entraîne, il faut que je fasse l'exercice, puis il faut que je fasse attention, puis que les gens, les autres citoyens ne sont pas si obsédés que moi par la géopolitique, par le sport, l'entraînement physique, puis par les études de civilisation, puis par l'hygiène en public, mais même si je vous encourage, bien sûr, c'est important, l'hygiène en public, de se laver les mains, puis l'hygiène en public, c'est important quand même. Les microbes, les germes, les bactéries dans nous, c'est pour ça. C'est de désinfecter les mains, puis tout ça, puis faire attention de moi-même dans ma propre grotte, j'ai du travail, mais ici, c'est mieux que j'habite maintenant dans une grotte que où j'habitais avant, il y avait beaucoup de moisissures, fait que je suis quand même content, puis je m'en vais à la deuxième maison à Montréal, puis au Mont-Royal, puis je fais l'effort. Je suis plus en dépression, je suis plus suicidaire, j'ai survécu ça, j'ai vécu ça, puis c'était quand même difficile, mais l'entraînement physique, ça fait du bien. Puis la gratitude c'est important. Pensez aux fermiers, pensez au travail de l'Hydro-Québec, pensez au travail public qui ramasse les poubelles, le compostage. J'y pense toujours à eux autres quand j'étais en marche. Puis les infirmières, puis bien sûr ceux qui font l'élevage, puis les produits de fromage, puis les infirmières, puis les camionneurs, puis les charpentiers qui font des tables, des coins ça, puis on travaille dans l'électrique, puis les ordinateurs, puis bien sûr tout ce qu'on a en tant que civilisation, les enseignants puis enseignantes dans les garderies, quand je t'en marche, philosophe en tant que la philosophie puis du rock'n'roll, toujours je médite qu'est-ce qui se passe avec les travaux publics, qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire de plus, puis qu'est-ce que moi je peux faire de plus, puis en étant ouvert pour les affaires 24/24, proposition de partenariat public-privé, parce que mon rêve qui se manifeste comme le royaume du dragon et de la déesse, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, se manifeste pour un partenariat public-privé, c'est ça que je fais appel, bien sûr, mon initiative, l'armée du dragon et de la déesse qui danse, pour la nature et la civilisation, c'est fondamentalement un partenariat public-privé. C'était fondamentalement un fondamental, un partenariat public-privé pour le 21e siècle, en même temps, pour le travail, amour, centriste, puis avec ma nature rock'n'roll, puis bien sûr, moi-même, je l'admets, mes chers citoyens, j'ai l'agression moi-même. Mais je m'entraîne, je fais l'exercice physique, je m'entraîne, je fais l'exercice physique pour ne pas faire mal à aucun autre citoyen, pour être un bon samaritain. Puis en Amérique du Nord, on a une initiative, ce qu'on adopte, défense, côte à côte, défense, sécurité, service, défense, sécurité, service, défense, sécurité, service, ici. Puis bien sûr, en étant conscient, la civilisation, c'est un privilège, puis toutes les choses qu'on a, c'est important dans la gratitude. Donc, avec du rock'n'roll, puis je vais introduire la géopolitique de la nourriture. Comme on sait bien sûr que les prix de la nourriture augmentent, local, c'était au plan pas juste local, national, c'était pas un problème entier dans le monde. Puis, bien sûr, je crois à ma théorie qui s'appelle la théorie de la refusion de la dette, avec toutes les imperfections que j'ai, l'Asperger, puis l'amnésie, puis tout ça, l'amnésie rétrograde, puis tout ça, mais c'est la théorie de la refusion de la dette, la théorie de la refusion de la dette, la théorie de la refusion de la dette, bien sûr, que je vous présente, puis bien sûr, je crois pas qu'il y a d'autres solutions que ma théorie en ce moment, où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, en 2020, avec les publics, les finances publiques, les dettes publiques, bien sûr, puis les dettes, pas juste les dettes publiques, mais aussi les dettes personnelles, comme on s'y dit, 10 500. Puis c'est quoi l'argent? C'est pour acheter puis vendre. Ça, je fais appel à mon frère Scorpion Bill Gates, c'est toutes les institutions financières, premier ministre, c'est président de l'Amérique du Nord, puis pour l'implémentation de la théorie de la refusion de la dette pour la création d'une unité d'échange universelle, parce que c'est ça l'argent fondamentalement, c'est pour acheter et vendre. Puis c'est une solution que je vais présenter, puis je suis fier de dire qu'il n'y a pas d'autre solution, parce que ça a doublé le prix de juste le servir de la dette, l'intérêt sur la dette publique, l'intérêt sur la dette publique du Canada, l'intérêt payé, l'intérêt sur la dette publique, là, ça a plus que doublé, c'est allé de 20,3 millions en 2020 2020, en 2021, c'était 20,3 milliards. Milliards, c'est en 9 zéros, ça. C'est 46,5 2023-2024. Ça a plus que doublé en 3 ans. Ça a plus que doublé en 3 ans. Pas d'autre solution que la théorie de la refusion de la dette pour la création d'un unité d'échange universel et une institution financière pour le 21e siècle. Puis je ne sais pas toutes les démarches des marchés financiers des banques, mais c'est ça que je sais fondamentalement. L'argent, mais c'est quoi? C'est pour le vendre, acheter puis vendre des biens, des services, des biens, des services, des biens, des services pour avancer au 21e siècle. En partenariat public-privé par la science, puis la nature, puis notre psychologie, notre individu en sécurité avec le collectif. Ma nature individuelle avec le collectif. Fait qu'on va finir avec ça. Oh yeah, no problem. I'm